David from A grade instructor training. So hope you're enjoying the weather. I can probably do with a bit of an haircut. Okay, so I hope you're all sort of plenty busy, happy, and ready for the weekend. So this is one of my lives, one of my many lives. I'll be doing these probably once a month. This one is going to be talking about driving tests. Okay. A little bit of like when to book them, how to book them, who can book them, when to book them, what a driving test is all about, and basically then how to change a test as well. And if you need any more further information, don't hesitate to contact me either on this site, this Facebook site. You can message me or you can phone me, and I will endeavour to answer you as soon as I possibly can. So first thing then is who can actually book a test. Now, the people that actually book a test is obviously the pupil. Okay, pupils can book tests basically once they've passed the theory test, the actual the theory and the hazard perception at the same time. Now they've got to obviously book that test within a 2-year window. Okay, that's 2 years. So whenever they say they pass it on the 1st of September 2023, they've got to then do it in the 1st of September 2025. Okay, so they've got to do it within 2 years of that theory expiring. I did have a problem this week trying to book some of these tests because I realised their theory had actually sort of run out. I didn't realise that when I was trying to book it and wondering why my system wasn't working. Okay, so the pupil can book a test within sort of 2 days. Now you can use the bespoke Gov UK booking sites, which is like if you put anything Gov UK should be fine. Be very suspicious if you're trying to book on another website, because the test is actually only £62. So if anybody starts to ask more than that, then obviously there's a problem. So do go through Gov UK, their official website, which I will put a link to this on the comments a little bit later. Okay, so yeah, so basically use that website, the official website, then you know you're not being sort of being ripped off or being frauded or anything like that. The other person that can actually book the driving test is the actual driving instructor. Now, I book the majority of my actual pupils' tests. Now, what I mean by that is basically I use something called a government gateway, or what they call the OBS system. And I use that, and it stores basically my credit card details, a lot of my preferences and things like that, what sort of test, and it just streamlines it, does it really quick. I can actually book it in usually, and you say usually because the other day I tried to book it with my pupil on my iPad. I'll usually book it with a pupil there and then, because then I know my diary is actually sort of clear for when I book that test. So it's a good idea, because if you get your pupil to book it, you might not be free on that day, and you might be doing something. So if it's with your instructor inside the car, then it's usually done a lot quicker. Now you can do it on the OBS system, which is a streamlined system to do it, but also you can actually do it on the UK website. But also you can phone it in as well. Now if you do phone it in, it's going to take a little bit longer to actually book that. Obviously you speak to a human operator then, and obviously, but that's the different ways of it. So you can phone it. You can do it on the Gov UK, or you can do it with your driving instructor on the OBS system. And I mean, that goes to the last person. The last person, anybody can actually book a driving test for somebody else, as long as you've got their driver number. Okay, and obviously their details as well. So that means like parents or guardians or something like that can actually book. So basically, in summary, then it's the pupil. It could be the instructor, or it could be anybody with a pupil's details. Okay, and obviously you have to pay for it online. Now, the second section is what actually is a driving test. Now, a driving test is the ability of somebody to drive independently for a period of about 40 odd minutes or so. Okay, what you'll be asked to do on a driving test to prove that you can drive it independently is first you do an eyesight test at 20 odd or so meters. Examiner gets you to do that first. It'll check your driving license as well when you get to the test centre, call your name out. He asks you then one tell me question, which relates to vehicle maintenance, like the example, like open the bonnet, identify where the engine oil is, and how you know if it's at the right level. So they ask you a tell me question. They get into the vehicle. They actually then either use, well, they could use a sat-nav for the first 20 minutes. They could use a sat-nav for the last 20 minutes, or they could ask you to follow road signs for the first 20 minutes or for the second 20 minutes. Okay, so you might be at that independent. So it's 80% are actually tests are actually using a sat-nav. Okay, so then they actually get you to drive. You'll be talking on all types of road and traffic conditions. Okay, dual carriageways, roundabouts, you know, left and right turns, meeting situations. You'll be asked to do one reversing manoeuvre as well, which could be drive into a bay, reverse into a bay, parallel park, okay, or park on the right and reverse back 2 car lengths. I hope I haven't missed any manoeuvres on that one, but okay, so do correct me if I miss any. Then you come back to the test centre. Obviously, you've got wheels turning for 30 minutes. You'll probably asked as well, other things as well, like an angled start, 2 normal stops, and if possible, an uphill or a downhill start as well. So when you get back to the test centre, the examiner then will give you the results. Okay, he will say, pleased to say that everything's successful, or sorry to say you have been unsuccessful today, do you want to know why? Best to then listen to the feedback that the exam actually gives, and if your instructor's nearby, so it would be preferable for your instructor to be somewhere nearby, because then he can actually sort of then understand and explain it to you later if you have been successful. So it gives you the opportunity to be successful the second time round or the next time round. So that's basically a driving test. If you're successful, the examiner usually takes your license off you, issues your certificates. You get then obviously it goes through the DVA, you get licensed within a certain amount of days. If you're unsuccessful, you get well, either way you get an email from the DVSA to say if you have been successful, recording what your driving faults are, if you haven't got any, and also an email saying that you have been successful, and also some of the feedback on some of the driving faults and why. Okay, so now when to actually book a driving test, this is really important. What you don't want to do is book it before you're actually ready. Now what I mean by that, if you're actually when you're driving, if your instructor is giving you a lot of input or a lot of help to do things, then you're not driving independently, and that's the first thing you need to do. You need to be driving without any assistance from that driving instructor. You need to be basically just, driving instructor says we're going to go there, or using a sat nav or whatever, and you just drive there with virtually no assistance from him. I mean, the only thing the instructor should be doing is giving you directions if the sat nav is giving you some sort of weird and wonderful things. Okay, so just that's the most important thing, driving independently without any input whatsoever. Okay, so test nerves as well. People can get nervous on the day, so there's a certain amount of mental preparation that you need to go through as well. I use basically 3 techniques. One's called an anchoring technique, which basically you press something like your thumb and you think about some place where you felt really happy and you felt into a resourceful state. As I said, it takes a little bit of detail to talk about anchoring, but that's one of the techniques. You just press some part of bony part of the body, and I've already set it that anchor in place where it takes you to that resourceful state where we confidence, calm, and etc. as well. So that's anchoring. Another one is the rapid anxiety intervention I use as well, which is another technique I use when I get somebody to imagine something inside where the stress is, and then get to turn the opposite direction and give it a different colour. That's quite effective, because when I calibrate that one, people start smiling when I do it, so I know it's been successful. And the other one as well I like to use is breathing techniques as well. Basically breathing through the nose for a certain amount of seconds and then breathing out the stress through the mouth for about 11 seconds or so. So breathing techniques there. So they're the 3 favourite ones. There's another one called an ABC technique, but I'm not going to go into detail because I might get into trouble for the person that created it. Okay, she's on tonight. Brilliant, fantastic. So, right. So also as well, test readiness also requires you to very highly recommended to do an actually mock driving test. Now, what I mean by that is basically your driving instructor will, take you hopefully somewhere near the test centre, and then get you to drive just like the real thing. And then the instructor, well, he shouldn't be giving you any help at all, because it should be like the real thing, and then giving you results at the end. Okay, to see actually. I know obviously if you're not being successful on those mock tests, then that's saying something that you're not actually either technically capable or mentally capable of actually doing that driving test. So it might be You might need further training, either in that technical preparation or that mental preparation to be successful on that day. Okay, so okay, and so that's basically, and the last thing is to talk about how we can actually change a driving test. Now, I know there's lots of problems at the moment. The waiting lists, according to 𝗪𝗍𝘀𝗀𝘀, is only a few months, but in some areas of the country, it's very difficult to get a driving test. All the waiting list is up right up to the maximum to the stops, which is about 24 weeks, which is about 6 months. So it's a little bit difficult if you have got a test and you're not ready, and your instructor then has to sort of then change that driving test, because now who wants to wait another 6 months? Let's face it. If I was in the same situation and my instructor says I wasn't ready, you've got to wait another 6 months, David, to actually book it. I wouldn't be very happy at all. So to change the test now, how you can get obviously different dates. Now, if your driving instructor uses the OBS system and has got a number of test dates, he can probably swap it on his OBS system, on his actually on his own systems. You've got another pupil that says he's got a test in about 2 months' time. They're ready, they're test ready, but they go back 2 months' time. You're not quite ready. You could swap those tests. You could swap those two tests. So the person that's ready gets a test at the right date. You then get your date at a later date when you've obviously got the opportunity to get more further training and to be ready. Because us poor driving instructors, we do have parameters that we have to keep doing. It's called the tip, and if we get so many driving faults, so many serious faults, so many dangerous faults, and our pass rate's below a certain range, we can actually be called in for a standards check. Okay, where we get inspected by the 𝗪𝗍𝘀𝘀𝘀, and obviously, and if our pass rates and our driving faults are absolutely abysmal, then obviously it could risk our career, basically. Because I did hear from a senior examiner that if it's taking substandard people continuously, they're not going to like it. Not going to like it. But it doesn't do very good for your reputation away as a business, as a driving instructor, if you are taking people to poor standard, because it gets a bad reputation with those examiners, and they're probably thinking, who's David bringing next time? I'm not saying I'll bring bad people, by the way, but I'm just using that as an example. Also, as well, how you can actually change driving tests as well. There is, I know there's test cancellation apps. Okay, do I use them? No, I don't. But basically, your pupils can log into that and then try to get earlier dates. Now, the only problem with that, what I found out when I get earlier dates, is all the times and dates that nobody else wants, is like the 8 o'clocks and the 3 o'clocks and stuff like that, when the traffic is really busy. So just be mindful of the fact. And then I've not my people have been very successful with those apps, because they usually get Ubered up before they actually all those test dates get there. And that's, I mean, and the other thing is, you can just keep an eye on the booking. Just keep on looking, or phoning up the 𝗪𝗍𝘀𝘀𝘀 on a regular basis, and you might drop lucky. You might get yourself an earlier date at the time that you actually want. Okay, so it might be worth sort of doing it that way as well. And also as well, I know some driving instructors, obviously, who know each other and trust each other as well, can swap tests as well. Now, obviously, that requires information to go across and stuff like that, but as long as the pupils give permission for your data to be used in that way, I really can't see any problems at all by doing it, because it benefits everybody. Pupil gets an early date, pupil who is not ready gets a later date, so gets more training, and then obviously then the person is more better prepared to do that driving test, which obviously hopefully reduces the long waiting lists we have at the moment. So thank you for listening, ladies and gents. That's my talk over. Be free to like, share, or comments of anything you see. Ask any questions. Get into contact with me if anything I've explained to you is a little bit too quick, or you're not understand it, or any further detail. And thank you, ladies and gents, for listening. That's David from A Grade Instructor Training signing off. Thank you and goodbye.